Hi, this is Tim from Small Scale RC, and today we're going to take a look at upgrading your shocks on the LaTrax Rally. Now, I've had this out bone stock, give it a really good run. You can check the video out on the channel, and I gave it a good run and really was impressed with how this thing handles out of the box. It's a very capable vehicle, very nimble. Was able to slide it around quite a bit. It has decent power for being, a brushed motor, and it handles really well. Now, the shocks that come standard with this vehicle are oilless. So what you can do is you can go ahead and get oil-filled shocks, which is what I did. And as you can see here, I've got them installed on the front, and I've got the stock shocks on the back. I'm not going to do an actual installation for you, but I will show you the differences in how you set them up, and just the differences between the two shocks themselves. So if you are interested in getting the oil-filled shocks, there are actually two different versions you can get. One is an anodized blue aluminum version, and then there is just a plastic bodied version, which is the route I ended up going. Now, the plastic bodied version is part number 75621. So if you're interested in checking that out, head over to LaTrax and their website and check that out to get a little more information, more details. So this, let's move the car out of the way, this is the stock oilless shock. And after I compared the two, after I had got this new one filled with oil, it just seems soft. It's very, very soft, very easy to compress. The new shock, the oil-filled shock, now you can play around with your oil levels. It does come with 30 weight oil in the package, and that's what I went with. I put about seven drops of oil in to this shock, and if you've dealt with shocks before, it's very basic, a really simple procedure. You unscrew the top. There's going to be a little rubber diaphragm in there. You take that out, and you're going to be exposing the chamber where the shock oil is going to go. And like I said, I put about 7 drops in. Move the shaft up and down. Make sure you get all your oil worked in. Put the cap back on, and just work the shock some more. You can play around with it. Again, squeeze it in your fingers to get a feel for how stiff you want the shocks or how soft you might want them. It's really up to you. About 7 drops of oil pretty much filled it up to the top without overflowing. So that's about where I made where I stopped things at that point. So I'm going to bring this stock shock back in for a minute. And if you take a look at these two, you're going to notice a few things right off the bat. The stock shock does not have a metal shaft in the middle, whereas the oil-filled one does. It really doesn't need a metal shaft necessarily, and probably to keep cost down, they went with as many plastic parts and low-cost parts as possible. The only other major difference between these two shocks is the lower connecting piece or component. On the stock shock, it's an eyelet. On the oil-filled shock, it's a ball cup, and you're going to get a ball piece that's going to go in rather than screwing in the shock to the lower mount. You're going to screw in this little ball, and you're going to pop the ball into the cup. So really, that's the only difference. Nothing to be overly concerned about or be worried about necessarily when you're doing this installation. So after you filled your shocks with oil, you can go ahead and get them installed. Like I said, I still have the stock shocks on the back. I'm not going to go through the actual installation of it. It's very straightforward, very simple. You have a screw here and a screw here. You take those both out. You remove your stock shock. And we're going to get a look at the oil-filled shock here. I went about putting the lower component in first, or the lower mount in first. So you're going to screw in that ball connector, and then you're going to pop in the cup, and then you're just going to screw the shock top to the shock mount on the body. And really simple as that. So all in all, this should not take you very long. If it takes you 15 to 20 minutes, I think that would be an ample amount of time. So it's a very fast upgrade to do, and fairly inexpensive. You should be able to find those shocks for $15, $20 at the most. Again, if you want to go with the anodized blue aluminum versions, you might be paying a little bit more. The plastic oil-filled shocks will run maybe a little less than that. So after I've got everything hooked up, after I have the new shocks installed up front, I will tell you that they are stiffer, which should help the overall performance of this car. I did not notice a lot of body roll when I was driving this out in my driveway. And again, I posted a running video of this machine. So if you want to check that out and see what it looks like when it's actually moving. It is a fun vehicle to drive, and I'm hoping that these new shocks enhance that even more. Another upgrade that I made, and I did not get video of it, did not document it, because quite honestly it was a pain to do, just given time constraints that I was working under. I did go ahead and upgraded the bushings to bearings. So if you're not familiar with bushings versus bearings, bushings are small pieces of plastic cylinder shape with holes in the middle to allow things to basically spin inside of them. That's, you know, more or less the dumbed down version. Bearing is different. It's got moving parts. It's two pieces or two collars of metal that surround or sandwich ball bearings, and they are heavily greased. And when you install them, they make things flow a lot easier. They reduce friction, and they should last a little bit longer. So in upgrading the bearings, or the bushings to bearings rather, you're going to find two bushings inside of the where the wheel attaches. So you're going to replace those. There's going to be one on each side of the front gear, and then you're going to have, again, two more on the other side. So you're dealing with 6 bearings up front. There's also a bearing in here with the gear. There's a bearing or a bushing that I replaced with the bearing back here, and then again back, same situation. So you're going to be dealing in total with 15 bearings. I ended up with one left over. I think there was one on the main drive gear, the main motor mount, that I did not replace. I may go back and do that later. Again, I was under a little bit of a time crunch and maybe wasn't thinking the clearest when I was going ahead and doing that. But that being said, everything does flow a lot smoother. Just a noticeable difference. I have not gotten this out to run it yet. I'm going to wait until I get the shocks fully replaced, and then we'll take this thing out and see what kind of an improvement all these upgrades did make to the vehicle, or not. Yeah, that aside, I think that's it for my upgrades for this vehicle. You know, I want to keep this low cost. I want to keep this a fun little basher, and not really put too much into it. Again, I say that now. I may change my mind a little bit down the road after I get to drive it some more. I definitely, after driving it, I have kept my eyes open for either used ones or lower cost rallies, because I think my kids would have a fun time with these, as well as we've had fun times with the other small scale vehicles we've added to our RC garage over the last few months. So that being said, you know, very inexpensive upgrades to do all the way around. Again, the shocks, the plastic bodied oil filled shocks, are part number 7561, and if you're looking to do the bearing upgrade, which I highly recommend, that part is 7541X. And if you need to know where exactly each of the bushings are and where they need to be replaced, go ahead and look at the manual. I looked high and low online for videos and just posts on how to upgrade the bearings and the bushings and whatnot, and I didn't find much. So wouldn't you know it, if I actually looked at the manual, I could see what I needed to find out. So that's it for this little short video. Very well worth and money well spent on these upgrades for the LaTrax Rally. And I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you do like what we're putting out, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Please go ahead and like the video. And for more information on smaller scale RC vehicles, go ahead and check out smallscalerc.com. Hopefully we share more on not only this vehicle but other small scale vehicles, and there are more vehicles like this hitting the market every day. So with that said, I'm going to go finish this shock install and get it ready to run. So until next time, take care, guys.